Hey dudes, and welcome back to the Bantz. As always, I am your host, the Bantz. And once again, here we are, another Monday, another beginning of the week. So it's time, of course, for our first What's Happening in Fashion for the week. So let's just get right into it. And first up, of course, we have our headlines for the day. And in our first headline of the day, we have a rather interesting one here. And that is, we now finally know the origins of the Off-White logo. And of course, this is all thanks to the sleuthing done once again by the absolutely amazing Instagram account Diet Prada. So of course, thanks again for that. After some incredible sleuthing, the people of Diet Prada found a book published by Trojan that had a whole bunch of just historical designs in it, and among them was this design, which was used in the 1960s by the Glasgow airport. Now, honestly, this really shouldn't come as much of a surprise to anyone just seeing Virgil's background in design and knowing that there really isn't any aside from just stealing other people's work. In fact, the most surprising thing here is actually that it took this long to find the origin of this actual design. So shoutouts once again to Diet Prada. Definitely go follow them on Instagram. Really amazing account and really blown away by all their research done here. Then Hedi Slimane shared some of the makeovers he's doing at Celine, and really, there is so much going on here. Aside from adding menswear, fragrances, and couture to the Celine line, he has had LVMH remodel and revamp all 140 Celine stores to match this criteria. And if all that alone wasn't crazy enough in and of itself, the way he's planning on releasing new apparel is even crazier for the brand still. Instead of dropping apparel by the season as is normally done by many luxury fashion houses, Hedi has decided to mix it up a little bit and release pieces in a more streetwear-esque style. And what he means by that is, aside from some staple pieces which will always be available, doesn't matter what season it is, they will always be there, the rest of the pieces, the more season dominated pieces, more limited edition pieces, will be available in drops that will be done weekly from now on. And you can see why this has more of a streetwear vibe to it. I mean, if you look at a bunch of brands in streetwear, specifically Japanese streetwear brands, the idea of doing the limited edition drops per season mixed in with the staple pieces which are always available is pretty key in that market. And on the flip side, the idea of releasing limited edition products weekly obviously is something that Supreme has been mastering for decades now. And while to a luxury fashion brand, the idea of doing weekly drops like this, or pop-up shops, or even capsule collections might seem a little faux pas, I really think this is a fantastic idea. I mean, just think about it. How many articles have we covered in the last couple months that just endlessly talk about the psychology of the drop, or how to hype up your brand, or how many brands nowadays really just thrive on this idea of hype in general? Really, when you think about it, what Hedi is doing here is taking all the better parts of marketing that comes out of streetwear, like the hype and the clout and the limited edition releases and the idea of the drop, and he's taking it out of streetwear and he's elevating it into a luxury fashion house, and in doing so has taken all this hype, all this marketing, and put it in front of a consumer base that has much deeper pockets. And really, when I think about it, it's just fucking genius. So best of luck to Slimane and everybody else that's working at Celine. I am really excited to see how all of this turns out. Okay, and with our headlines done, let's move on to our art stories. And first up, artist Jeff Gillette showed off some of his newest pieces, and I just love these. The amount of detail in the work and the amount of just vibrant colors here as well too. If the idea of mixing a dystopian environment and Disney sounds interesting to you, then you'll absolutely love these. Then it was announced that one of Banksy's more renowned works, specifically Trolley Hunter, was stolen out of an exhibit in Toronto early one morning a couple weeks back. And although they haven't found it since, and honestly I wouldn't really put it past Banksy to have stolen his own work, if you do want to see the security footage, I would definitely check this out. And finally, artist Zeehan Wazed showed off some of his newest works during his newest exhibit now going on in New York City, and I think these pieces are just amazing. A mix of some very minimalized and maximalized color schemes here, with a definite focus on patterns and designs, and definitely a lot of influence from graffiti culture as well. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, definitely worth checking out. And if you do happen to be in New York City while this is still available, I would definitely check this out in person. Alright, now moving back into fashion. Unfortunately today we start off with a sad story, and that is with the fact that Noble Denim has finally closed up its doors for good. Having been one of the more interesting American brands out there, by doing some interesting washes over the years, or even doing a made to order line which allows you to customize your jeans. After 6 years, unfortunately the guys here just finally had to close up shop. And really, for as unfortunate as it is, it really just goes to show once again how harsh and cruel the fashion world can really be. But at the very least, kudos to the guys at Noble Denim for at least lasting 6 years, and I hope you guys all move on to bigger and better things. Then brand Against Lab showed off some more of their Spring Summer 2018 collection, and I think it's pretty good. This brand is definitely on the younger side, not having even existed 3 years as of yet, and you can definitely feel some of their greenness in some of their designs, as well as the fact that this collection lacks a lot of substance overall. But even with that said, for as few pieces as there are, the pieces that they did make, I still feel have a decent amount of originality to them. Even for as saturated as the punk-inspired streetwear market is, a lot of these pieces here still feel very fresh, very creative, compared to what I've seen a lot of companies just do over and over again, or copy over and over again. The graphics are still fairly interesting and clean overall. The lettering on these pieces seems very nicely done as well too, and that one patchwork piece, even if it's by far not the greatest piece of patchwork I've ever seen, for an up-and-coming streetwear brand, it's still pretty damn good. And the fact that the most expensive thing in this collection is $80 is just a little bit of a bonus as well. So if you're interested in expanding your streetwear wardrobe, or maybe you're just looking for some more punk-inspired pieces that just have a little bit more color than what you're used to, either way, I would definitely check out this collection, and I'm still very interested to see what they come out with in future seasons. Then brand LC23 showed off their Spring-Summer 2019 collection, and it's another Peanuts collaboration. God, we're gonna have to go through another fucking year of this already. But even with that said, I do have to admit that most of the designs here are alright. The embroideries overall are pretty good, the knits are very well done, and aside from the few graphics on the button-up shirts, which are absolutely fucking awful, the other graphics, pretty well done too. So if you still, God knows for whatever reason, haven't had your fill of Peanuts apparel as of yet, then be on the lookout for this early next year. Then brand Stan Ray showed off their Spring-Summer 2019 lookbook, and I actually really like this. When you look at this collection the first time, it might even come off as a little bit boring. Like, you definitely get the inspirations they have here, be it from a bunch of different sources, such as streetwear and workwear and tropical pieces, and even some prep in there as well too. But the more and more I found myself looking at this lookbook, the more and more I just found myself enjoying it. And the reason why? Well, I just feel like this collection overall is just super solid. Like I said, there's a bunch of inspirations here. The pieces themselves look very quality, and then there's a very nice mix of different textiles, a nice amount of color pop, a nice amount of patterns, and even a nice amount of graphics and embroidery as well. This might sound a little bit fucked up, but if I had to describe this collection, I think this is what Chris Gibbs wishes he could design. And even though their pieces here are a little bit more on the pricey side, it's because they're still made in America, so definitely no complaints from me here. So if anything I said about this brand sounds interesting to you, I'd definitely go check them out. Definitely worth a look. And lastly, but just very quickly, let's talk about the newest collaboration between Alexander Wang and Trojan condoms, because how just perfect is this? It's really only 4 pieces, a t-shirt, hats, socks, and of course a condom, all of which only say protect your Wang. And yes, the pieces might be a little bit more expensive than they need to be, and yes, the designs and production here are definitely on the lazier side, but even so, I do have to give props to Alexander here. This is really the funniest thing he's done since his H&M collaboration, although this is by far definitely more intentional. Okay, and ending on that note, let's move on to our articles for the day. And first up, Hedels did another nice history of, this time on the fabric Madras. So if you're interested in textiles or just as always interested in history of fashion, either way, I'd definitely check this out. Then CNBC put out a very interesting article on the idea of the differences in the market between Apple watches and Swiss watches, and how they're not really enemies of each other because people are using them or buying them for different reasons overall. And they dive a little bit deeper into it, even going into a little bit of the history of Swiss watches in general. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd definitely give this a look. And lastly, Hypebeast sat down with designer Hodges to talk a little bit about some of his newest work, as well as some of his inspirations and ideas. So if that sounds interesting to you, or maybe you just want to get to know his work a little bit better, either way, I'd definitely give this a read. Alright guys, and with that, we've reached the end of our first whip of the week. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you do want to read any of the articles I talked about today, or looks at some more photos that I wasn't able to include, of course I've linked everything in the description down below. And if you guys are new to the channel, then welcome. We do these What's Happening in Fashion videos twice a week, every Monday and Friday, as well as another video here and there on occasion. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, if you just have any questions, comments, or concerns, or even just want to talk fashion in general, feel free to hit me up in the comments down below. I am always willing to talk fashion. And thank you guys as always for watching these videos and supporting my content. I hope you have a good couple days until I see you next, and as always, until next time.